Welcome everyone to my Blood Angels Codex review. So it's not a full-blown Codex, it's a Codex supplement. But it is nice when you come home from a hard day's work to find a lovely Codex waiting for you. So I've laid out in front of me, probably a third of my painted Blood Angels, and I would say that included in total is probably half of what I've got that's actually painted, and the rest is unpainted, such as my sins. But I've been a Blood Angels player for a long time. This is most of my modern stuff. Notice no Goblin Green bases. I might do another video on all my older stuff, all my tacticals with Goblin Green bases. So I'm not just saying, yeah, jump on the bandwagon, Blood Angels. Bit of a fan, so this codex for me, I would say there's some great fluff rules, makes sense, which I'll get to in a bit, but it's not going to break the game. So I think they've balanced it out a little bit. There's still some great stuff in there, don't get me wrong. Blood Angel characters are still very strong, as they should be. But I'm trying to be impartial, not biased at all. But I love these guys. They are fantastic. So, shall we begin? So, this book has wonderful artwork. Artwork I've never seen before. And I know a few codexes and supplements in the past have had artwork that's repeated. But stuff like this I have seen kicking around on the internet. But, yeah. I think the artwork is amazing. But we're not here just for the artwork, so I'm going to skip quite a lot of it. So there's a lot of stuff about characters that you may or may not have heard of in the past. So Asterath the Grim, one of my favourite models, which I know a lot of people aren't always massive fans of the model, but I do think he's pretty awesome. I had the model when he first came out, and I thought it was quite cinematic, jumping up in the air with his axe over his head. I know since then they've got away from the metal model, so it is a lot easier to put together and a lot less easy to destroy. And then we have my boy here, Mephiston. I do love Mephiston. If you know me by now, there's not many games of Blood Angels I play that do not contain Mephiston. He is epic in my opinion. And he has not changed that I'm aware of. I looked at his stats previously before recording this, and I don't think he has changed at all. Okay, so I'm skipping right to the chapter approved rules, because the background for the characters is very rich, but chances are you're here for the rules themselves. Even though Dante is apparently the oldest living regular Space Marine. So yeah, he's done quite a bit in his time. But we'll skip to the chapter approved rules. So, there are match play rules, and these rules are used like playing with your friends or playing in tournaments. And this book comes with 3 secondary options that you can pick. So, these are Blood Angel specific, as you would imagine, and you can never have more than any one in one category. So you can't have 2 Purge the Enemy and things like that. But in this book, it comes with 1 Purge the Enemy, 1 No Mercy, No Respite, and 1 Battlefield Supremacy, which are Purge the Enemy is Blade of Sanguinius. So, this one's pretty cool. It's quite fluffy. So at the start of your first command phase, you must select 1 of your Blood Angel characters models from your army to issue a challenge with your opponent, and you must select 1 character model from their army to accept that challenge. So, you get 5 victory points if the model has accepted the challenge was destroyed. Okay, that's alright. So as a character getting killed, it's 5 points. I mean, you can get the Warlord for 6 points anyway, but it also stacks with this. If the model that was accepted the challenge was destroyed by a melee attack, you get another 5 points in addition, which you probably will do because it's Blood Angels, and they do like a bit of close combat. And a further 5 points if the model that accepted the challenge was destroyed by a melee attack by the model that issued the challenge. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, So 15 points, as you'd imagine, you can only top out at 15 like any other secondary. Score 3 victory points at the end of your turn if one or more enemy units were destroyed by a Death Company unit from your army this turn. That's pretty good. If you're going all Death Company heavy, I think in this edition, this codex, they are leaning towards more Death Company. Before it was a bit of a burden, a bit of a curse, and it still is fluff-wise, but you kind of want your whole army now to be Death Company. You know, there's a lot of things in this book that give you benefits towards it. Not that fluff-wise these guys want to succumb to it, but it's pretty cool game-wise. And then lastly, you have the battlefield supremacy, even relentless assault. Score 4 victory points at the end of your turn if there are more Blood Angel units from your army in the enemy deployment zone than there are enemy units in your deployment zone. So, drop pods, you know, jump packs, things like that, great for dropping in the back. Before you could get 4 points a turn if you had line breaker, so 2 units. So if you had a drop pod and you had guys getting out, that's 2 units. That was 4 points, which I think is pretty strong. But now you get 4 points if there are more of your models in the enemy's deployment zone than their models in your deployment zone. So that's pretty good because you can just put a drop pod in naked. Doesn't have to have anything inside. And they've got to deal with it. If not, you get 4 points, and then 4 points the following turn if it's still there, so they've got to get rid of it. So, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good because I do like dropping in some Sanguinary Guard, maybe some Death Company with jump packs, or even getting one of these guys with a load of models inside. So flying over to that zone, and it says more than, so you don't have to have 2 like in Linebreaker. It's more than. So if they've got a very slow advancing army, let's say they've got Death Guard or something, very, very slow moving up the table, plonk one of your guys at the back, it's more than. They've got nothing in your deployment zone. I think that's really good. I'm going to try that in my next tournament and see how I get on, and I'll let you know, which will probably be badly. So, Savage Echoes as a detachment ability has not changed. So obviously, a Blood Angels detachment is one that includes models with a Blood Angels keyword. There's a shock. So they've all got to be Blood Angels, and then you get Savage Echoes. So that means in the Assault Doctrine, turn 3 and such onwards, normally you get an extra AP in close combat. These guys get that, and they get an additional attack characteristic if they have made a charge move, were charged, or performed a heroic intervention, which they probably will do. They do like a bit of it. So, now there's an ability called The Lost, which is slightly different than before. I like to, before, spend 1 CP turning my captain into Death Company, which you can still do, it's not a problem. But, specifically now, it costs points to do so. So, if you're playing points or power, it costs 1 power to do so with a captain or a lieutenant, 20 points with a captain, or 10 points with a lieutenant, which is pretty damn good. But there are a few things you cannot do now. So you cannot do that if your captain, for example, is your warlord, which is a shame because I always used to like doing it, but I understand why they do it. Not for rules wise, because it's fluff. If you're Black Rage, you're losing your marbles, you'll be dead on the battlefield. If not, you're executed when you get back. So it makes more sense because you wouldn't pick your warlord to be this crazy blood raged guy, stomping around, who is insane and wants to die and just murder everything in sight. It's not very tactical. I do understand that. Before, it didn't really make sense fluff wise, but I didn't care because you feel no pain and you get an extra attack, which is great. So now you cannot do it if it's your warlord, which I get that. I do get that. And also, if you upgrade your captain, then it can't happen either. So Okay, so your captain cannot have the ability, the Lost, if he's used the chapter command upgrade. So, if he is a company commander, he cannot have the Lost, which makes sense. Because he's not much of a commander anymore when he's a minus savage, isn't he? So I do understand why they do it. They would downgrade that guy, wouldn't they? If he was the Lost, if he had the Lost. I do understand. It does make sense fluff-wise. It is a shame. It is a shame because the extra attack and the feel no pain is great. But you now have Rites of Battle ability. And he changes his Rites of Battle for Rites of Rage. Which makes more sense. So now it also unlocks the Deaf Visions keyword. So I will skip a few pages and I'll go to that straight away because it is actually quite relevant. So page 63, Deaf Visions. What do I mean by Deaf Visions? Well, the Black Rage. Deaf Visions. Excellent. So, once per battle, when this model is selected to fight, you can use one of the Deaf Visions as listed below. Okay, the same Deaf Vision cannot be used more than once per battle. Okay, so one is called On the Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. So if you know anything about your Blood Angels fluff, Sanguinius, our Lord and Saviour, our Primarch was killed on the Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit by Horus. So when you have this Deaf Vision, you think you're on the Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. A model can only use this Deaf Vision if an enemy infantry character or monster character is visible to do so. If the model uses the Deaf Vision, it can fight. And if it uses this Deaf Vision until that fight is resolved. Add 1 to the model's attack characteristic for every 5 models that are within 6 inches of it. So if you're swamped, that's pretty good. You get an extra attack for every 5 guys. Probably going to die though, but well worth it. You might not want to take a Thunder Hammer, you might want to take something like Twin Lightning Claws or something for the extra attacks. But hey ho. Each time this model makes an attack, he can re-roll the hit roll. That's brilliant. That is really, really good. I like that. It's a shame you cannot use it on your Warlord. Boo! And you also have the Grace of the Angel. So, Grace of the Angel is a model can use this Deaf Vision if any enemy character, infantry, or monster character models are within engagement range of it. If a model uses Deaf Vision, then until the end of that turn, this model has a 3-up invulnerable. So, it had a 3-up invulnerable in the last edition, I understand that. But 3-up invulnerables are not going to be so commonplace in this edition. So you'll have Feel No Pain, and you have a 3-up invulnerable, which is wicked. I really, really like that. And to slay the War Master, so model can use this Deaf Vision if, same again, infantry character, monster character, or engagement range. A model uses this Deaf Vision, and instead of making attacks for that fight, both players roll off. If you win, select one of the enemy models that the model is engaged with. The model suffers D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Now, I am reading this as, instead of making any attacks for that fight, both players roll off. So, to me, that sounds like both players do not fight. I mean, I may get this completely wrong, it may need to be FAQ'd, but it literally says, instead of making attack rolls for that fight, both players roll off. So, if you fail this, you still don't fight, presumably. It says if you win, you do the D3 mortal wounds, which is great. But does that mean you shut down their War Master, this infantry character, or this monster character? I'm reading it straight from the book, and it sounds like it. Am I hoping for something more? Or is that rules as written? But that's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like to me. So, there's a slight addition to the Black Rage. So same as before, you got your extra attack if you were charging and things like that. So that has not changed. But I don't like this, but it does make sense fluff-wise. In your movement phase, each time this unit is selected to move, it cannot fall back. It makes sense. It does make sense fluff-wise. Rules-wise, it is a shame. But the Death Company aren't tactical guys. They will run in, they'll try to slaughter everything, and they'll stay stuck in. And that's what it was like in the books and all the history and all the stories. They get stuck in, and they'll keep fighting until they die. And then they can move on to the next thing. It makes sense. Rules-wise, it's a shame. But they're not tactical. They're mindless, they're savage. You know, they've got the smell of the blood in the nose. That's it. They've lost their flipping minds. So, Death Company have changed a little bit. They have changed a little bit. It makes more sense. It's a shame, but it makes more sense. So, I won't go through all the stratagems, but a few of the classic ones. Upon Wings of Fire, we all remember that one. 1 CP. It has changed. Use this stratagem in your movement phase. Select one Blood Angel Core jump pack unit from your army and remove it from the battlefield. In the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, set up that unit anywhere in the battlefield 9 inches away. So they are out for a whole turn and then they come back. Which makes more sense because before you could do it 72 inches away. So they go all the way up and then all the way back down. How fast are these flipping jump backs? You know? Like Mach 5. They'll probably pass out. But no. That makes more sense. It is a shame because everyone used that and that was unbelievable. But for 1 CP, you can remove them from the table. If you think they're going to get wiped out and they're in a bad position, you can bring them back in the next turn. Usual rules apply. More than 9 inches away. Okay. Descent of Angels sounds very familiar, doesn't it, as well? So, use the stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select one Blood Angels Core jump pack unit from your army that was set up in the battlefield during the reinforcement step. Until the end of the turn, each time a charge roll is made for that unit, you can ignore any or all modifiers to that charge roll. So, that's any, so you get to pick. So you can still get the plus charging as Blood Angels do, but it ignores difficult terrain. If you're charging something that can push you back, like if a repulsor was using the repulsor plates or something, or some Xenos foul stinking thing that you're about to charge has something that reduces your charge distance, you ignore that. So that's quite situational, but the second part is very nice. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the model's hit roll, which is great. So you don't know if you're going to make the charge, but you might as well spend 1 CP because then everybody gets an extra attack. That's really, really nice. I like that. But remember, it's if you set up on your battlefield during the reinforcement step. So upon Wings of Fire, you come back in the next reinforcement step. Then you use Descent of Angels. Everybody gets an extra attack, and you've moved somewhere else on the table, which is pretty nice. Okay, so there's a few things like the Death Company ability Refusal to Die, and we have been using it since the Space Marine Codex was announced. We've had a little update, and it did say that we could have a 5-up Feel No Pain on Death Company for 1 CP if there's 5 or fewer models. Otherwise, it's 2 CP. So we knew about that anyway, but it's there, it's confirmed, it's still there, it stayed. We have... what else is nice? Lucifer pattern engines. Very situational, but if you wanted to get one of your vehicles to grab an objective, fair enough. I don't think there's any difference. There's always been, fluff-wise, Blood Angels have overcharged engines, things like that. It adds 6 inches to a model's advance. So rather than rolling the dice, flat 6 inches. Yeah. Very, very situational. Don't think I've ever used it. Red Rampage. That was one we've had before. But this time around, use the stratagem in your command phase If the Assault Doctrine is active for your army until the next command phase, each time Blood Angels models from your army make an attack with a pistol or melee weapon on an unmodified roll of 6, the armor penetration characteristic has been improved by 1. That's really nice. So if you're in the third phase and you've got, I don't know, Astartes chainswords and now have AP 1, which is nice. In the third phase, in the assault phase, you would have AP 2. With this, any 6s is now AP 3. It's nice. I like it. It's pretty cool, pretty cool. Vengeance for Sanguinius. So this one is very, very situational. It specifically targets Black Legion. I think every book will have something like this. They always have that specific enemy they really want to get bonuses against. But how many times do you see Black Legion? I don't know. You might see a few in your meta. Use the stratagem in the fight phase. When a Blood Angels unit from your army is selected to fight, until the end of that phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack against a Black Legion unit, you can re-roll the attack hit rolls, and you can re-roll the attack wound rolls. Really, really, really good, but only against Black Legion. So when you positively have to kill every Black Legion in the room, that's pretty good. Okay, so there's Unbridled Arbor, which is 1 CP, and it basically gives your Sanguinary Guard heroically intervene, which is okay. That's pretty good. Forlorn Fury. So use this stratagem at the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins. So this one is very, very similar to before. Select one Death Company unit from your army. That unit can make a normal move up to 12 inches as if it was the movement phase, but must end that move more than 9 inches away from enemy models. Okay, it's 1 CP if it's a small unit. They're doing this a lot now. 2 CP if it's a bit bigger. So it's 6 or more models. Okay, it's pretty nice. Chalice Overflowing for 1 CP. A Sanguinary Priest from your army can use the Blood Chalice ability 1 more time. So what is the Blood Chalice ability, I hear you ask? You're probably not asking, but I'll tell you anyway. So, we have the Sanguinary Priest has Blood Chalice. In your command phase, select one friendly Blood Angel's core, it's going to be specifically core, or Angel's character within 6 inches of this model until the start of your next command phase. If the Tactical Doctrine or Devastator Doctrine is active, then that model can treat it as the Assault Doctrine. So it's pretty nice. So for 1 CP, you can pick 2 units within 6, and it's got the extra attack that Blood Angels get, and it gets the extra AP, which is rather nice. So yes, the Blood Chalice did change. You don't get the +1 strength they used to. But do we really need it? With +1 to wound? I don't know. Okay, so there is a couple of nice stratagems. I always feel before Blood Angels didn't get massive amount of stratagems that were really, really useful. 1 CP, you can select one of your psychos and they can manifest 1 additional psychic power a turn. That's pretty nice. So obviously once per turn. So it's a stratagem after all. You can't just keep spamming. This one's interesting. I think this one, I'll try it, but I don't know how well it will work. So for 1 CP, and I do find we have a lot of low CP stratagems this time around. Use the stratagem in the fight phase. Select 1 Blood Angel's character, excluding vehicle units. So I'm assuming you cannot use a Dreadnought, I guess. Until the end of that phase, each time an enemy unit is selected to fight, if a model in that unit is within engagement range of a character unit, when your opponent is targeting that, selecting targets for the attack, those attacks can only target the character. So if you've got Dante's moved into a unit, and you've got your Sanguinary Guard, and you think Dante can tank all the attacks, spend this CP, now they can only attack Dante. Yeah, okay. I would say I would probably use it more if there was tactical marines around, or the basic primaris around, because they've got obsec and they really, really want to hold that objective. Maybe, I don't know. It sounds about right. I mean, when the Sanguinor comes down, that makes sense fluff-wise. That's the kind of thing he would do. He would try to take those attacks on himself to try to save his men. Okay. Yeah. I'll give it a go and see what I can do. There's a couple for Flesh Terrors, which is quite nice. So you can get 2 relics, which is pretty nice. That's just pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then we get to Warlord traits, shall we? So, Speed of the Primarch. At the start of the fight phase, if this Warlord is within engagement range of any other units, it can fight first that phase. Now, before, it was you can fight first if they hadn't charged. I think that's changed now. I honestly think they just fight first. But if the other person has the same trait, I really don't know. I really don't know. You're going to have to ask your TO if you've got one, if you're in a tournament. It's probably been FAQ'd somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. There's a few that are very similarly worded, but with a unique difference. Like it'd be like they get to fight first unless another person has the same ability, which just muddles you up even more. They can make it a bit clearer. You have the Artisan of War. This warlord can give him one of the follow special war gear relics. So you can have like mastercrafted weapons, things like that. Soul Warden. I do like Soul Warden. It's an aura. While friendly Blood Angel unit is within 6 of this warlord, each time a model in that unit loses a wound, you have a 5-up, feel no pain. Really like that. So if you want to put your warlord right in the middle of all your troops, wicked. Okay. It says when a friendly Blood Angel's unit is within 6. Does that mean only one? It says a, and it says unit, not unit, so I would say probably 1. Heroic Bearing, add 3 to the range of the rites of battle. And it also has the follow ability, Heroic Bearing, which is within 9 inches of the Warlord, add +1 to your leadership characteristic. I still think leadership on Space Marines are pretty good in a way. I mean, you do get to re-roll. Generally speaking, there's a lot of Space Marine units that are 5-man units, so it's quite hard to fail anyway, unless you've got any minuses on leadership. Gift of Foresight, so you can re-roll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 saving throw each turn. So I'm sure the Custodians would like to hear about that, because they have a very similar ability. And then Selfless Valor. This warlord is eligible to perform a heroic intervention is within 6 horizontally. That's pretty cool. And then you got your Flesh Terror warlord traits as well. It's nice to see a few Flesh Terror things in there. It really, really is. So the Sanguinary Discipline, so these psychic powers for Blood Angel Psychics, are gone back to Blood Angel specifics now, which is nice to know. Quickening, or our good old favourite Quickening, has changed slightly. So you still get your D3 additional attacks, but you re-roll advance and charge rolls for the Psyker, rather than having 3 inches. Is it better? I don't know. I really do like the 3 inches, because you got a 1 inch NOA, and you got the 3 inch and the 2 dice. It's always, always nice. I think it was more solid than a re-roll. I just do. So it costs 6 to perform. Unleash Rage. So warp charge value is 6. To the start of your next psychic phase, each time a model in the unit that you've picked within 12 inches, on an unmodified roll of a 6, you score an additional hit. So it is different. Before, everybody had an additional hit. Now you've got to earn it on 6s. But it does mean if you have Death Company and they have 5 attacks anyway, you could potentially get more attacks. But you need to get those 6s. So it is basically Death to the False Emperor. So if you didn't think Blood Angels were World Eaters before, it's more so now. It really is. Shield of Sanguinius, I don't think it's changed. Still within 18 inches of the Psyker, a model can have a 5-up invulnerable save. Yep, it's always been pretty solid. It's a shame what the powers we had in the Space Marine Codex when we were using it, we couldn't keep maybe Veil of Time, things like that, Might of Heroes. The fact that we could put an invulnerable save everybody within 6 before was really good. Okay, okay, it is what it is. Okay, so then you got Blood Boil, which is a good old-fashioned Blood Boil we've heard about before, but is a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit that's within 18 and visible to the Psycho. It doesn't say if it has to be nearest, so characters possibly? If the total is more than the highest toughness characteristic of models in that unit, it suffers 3 mortal wounds. Sorry, D3 mortal wounds. If the total is more than double the highest characteristic, that's going to be tough. It's then 3. Okay, it's a smite, effectively. So I think it's a bit of a sniper smite. I think you could probably get a character with that, if I'm reading it correctly, because it doesn't say anything about the character keywords. Blood Lance, same title, slightly different, I think. So warp charge value is 6. If 18 inches and visible from the Psycho, draw the shortest possible line between the Psycho's base and the selected enemy model's base, or hole. Then roll 1d6 for each model over the centre. On a 5-up, suffers 1 mortal wound. I've never used Bloodlands. But what I have used is Wings of Sanguinius. So Wings of Sanguinius is warp charge value of 6. If manifested, you can make a normal move or fall back as if it was the movement phase. In addition, until the end of the phase, this Psycho has a movement of 12 and has the fly keyword. So it's okay. Wings are okay. Wings of Sanguinius are still a thing, and they're safe. They're still there. Okay, so we'll go through all the special ammunition, war gear, do apologise, or relics, but there is a few in there that's pretty nice. So Flesh Terrors had quite a nice one, I think. So it works for Terminator models only. So it's got to be a character in Terminator plate, has 1 to its movement. Yeah, it's not amazing, but it can charge when it advanced, which is very, very nice. And it can move up to 4 inches when piling in and consolidating. Just makes your Terminators a little bit faster, which I think is pretty nice. Okay, Hammer of Bow, usual thing, Hammer of Bow, replaces the Thunder Hammer. It doesn't have the minus to hit. Hammer of Bow, good old classic. Still strong, still nice. So, times 2 strength, minus 3 AP, 3 damage. It's cool. It's cool. Wrath of Bow. Okay, so sanguinary ancient model only. So it's a banner that affects every friendly Blood Angels jump pack unit within 6 of the model. See, it's very specific. If it said Blood Angel, fine, but it's jump pack model. So your normal move, advance or fall back, adds +2 to your movement. Okay, but why not charge? If it was charge, it would be phenomenal. Because it only says jump pack. If it was every model, I don't know. Icon on the Angel, so you get an aura. So within 6 inches, you can re-roll charge rolls. That's great. That's great. Why wouldn't you take Icon of the Angel? Because before you can re-roll with your jump pack and you couldn't be targeted by Overwatch, but now affecting the models within 6. Phenomenal. Imagine putting that on someone on a bike. Because the bike is actually quite a large base. So you're getting quite a few more inches out of it. And that's what it's all about. Getting more inches. Okay. I will go into a couple of the special issue war gear. The quake bolts are always nice. So you give up your normal shot and you use this specific ammunition for your bolt weapon. If the hit is scored, the target is failed until the end of the next turn. In addition to any normal damage, which is different because I don't think it could take normal damage before, I think it was just straight up. Each time a melee attack is made against that unit that's failed, add 1 to the hit rolls. Slightly different, I think you couldn't do damage to it before, but with a bolt weapon it doesn't really matter. Flesh-rending grenades, which is pretty nice. So, it replaces your usual frag grenade with a blast grenade. Each time the attack is made with this weapon, the target does not receive light cover. It is strength 5, it's AP 3, and it's 2 damage. That's pretty cool. One of my personal favourites in this book is Gleaming Pinions. So you put it on your jump pack, so you can charge the same turn you fell back, and you can re-roll rolls made for this bearer. So charge rolls, do apologise. Which is pretty nice. So no stopping Overwatch or anything. But if you wanted to fall back, everybody shoot that thing, and then you can charge it afterwards. Why not? So there's quite a nice section on Crusade rules, which is pretty nice. Some new agendas, stuff that's been tidied up. Really like the sound of Crusade. I do like levelling people up, which is always nice. The good old name generator is back, which is pretty nice. Nyasso, we have Rylan, Furo, Raven. Okay, some great names there. Very Blood Angel-y. And then we get to the data sheets, which we've already discussed, the Death Visions, and what the Black Rage is all about, if you didn't already know. Our man Dante has gotten better, because he has a Death Mask of Sanguinius. So each time an attack is made against this model, subtract 1 from that attack roll. Attack roll. So that's not in close combat, that's any time. I think that's really good. So he's slightly harder to be targeted, still movement 12, still ballistics and weapon skill of 2, strength 4, but with his axe, it's plus 3 strength, it's pretty nice, you know. And you have AP 3, 2 damage. That's pretty nice. So you're an epic hero of the Imperium. Once per battle, you can use an epic deed stratagem. So some of the stratagems are, like it says on the tin, are epic. So an epic deed stratagem, for example, would be Spiritual Might, which allows a Psyker to manifest 1 additional. It's not a Psyker. You can use stratagem with Death Company character model from your army selected to fight. He's not, so presumably he would pick the only one he's eligible to pick. Use the stratagem in the fight phase, select 1 Blood Angel character from your army into the end of fight phase. You can only target him. Okay, so yeah, you get it for free. Like I said, we'll see how that goes. Don't really want my HQs to be targeted, but sometimes needs must, you know. And he could possibly tank it. He has a 2-up save, so if someone's got no AP, it's probably going to be okay. So he's a chapter master, a proper chapter master. None of this tiffing around. He has a 4-up invulnerable save. If your army is Battleforge, when you select this model to be your warlord, you get 1 additional command point. And so it should be. I mean, he is pretty epic. I was hoping there was going to be a newer model for him, because he does look like he's aged a little bit. But it'd be nice to see him more on the table, I think. So we've got some rules for Gabriel Seth. So he's of the Flesh Terrors, if you didn't know. I do like that model, but he looks a bit puny these days. Even though he's screaming and waving his sword about, he looks a bit puny. So Whirlwind of Gore. At the end of the fight phase, if this model is in engagement range of any enemy unit, it may fight again. Like I said, if you don't think these guys are World Eaters, he is pretty much a berserker, isn't he? He is a berserker. But he is mental. If you read any of his stuff, any of his books, any of his fluff, he is insane. Trial of Blood. Yeah, he's a bit loopy in that. The Sanguinor. Okay, so the Sanguinor has had a few little tweaks. Avenging Angel. This model is eligible to declare a charge even if it fell back this turn, which is pretty nice. That's okay. That's okay. But he has Miraculous Savior. Until the end of the heroic intervention step of your opponent's charge phase. This model has not been set up on the battlefield, but can, that's right, heroically intervene. That's pretty cool. So one of your units in your army is about to get smashed. You can drop this guy in, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. There is one difference that I wasn't a fan of. It makes sense fluff-wise. The Sanguinor comes down and saves your guys in the moment of need. In the hour of need, they're in the middle of combat, men are dying everywhere, he comes down and he gives them buffs. So he gives them additional attacks like he used to. But these additional attacks do not stack with Shock Assault now, which is a real shame. But it does make sense. He's in there. You've lost your Shock Assault because you've been in that combat for over a turn. It's dire times. This guy comes in, boom, you get an extra attack each again, which is pretty nice. I mean, there's always that stratagem that can make you have an extra attack. Sorry, not stratagem, psychic power, extra attack on 6s, which is pretty nice anyway. Those two will stack fine, but Shock Assault will not stack. Yeah. Okay, if it's turn 3, you still get an additional attack as well. I understand what they're trying to do. It does make more sense from the book's point of view. And plus, if you've got Death Company, 5 attacks, you get additional attack from him, get an additional attack through, let's say, Mephi putting psychic power on them, things like that. It could get out of hand. But that's what I like. Massively stackable things. Brother Corbolo. Okay, so, he can feel no pain now, aura, within 6, like they used to of days of old. You can heal Blood Angels infantry and biker models within 6, regain D3 lost wounds. He is a Sanguinary High Priest. Until the end of your movement phase, this model can use its combat restoratives ability twice instead of once. So that means you can heal someone 2 lots of D3. Which is quite funny because it says at the end of that one, you can heal D3 lost wounds. Each model can only be healed once per turn. So, presumably you cannot heal that model twice with that secondary High Priest ability. Presumably not. So, yeah. You can still do it on another unit nearby, I guess. So he has the Red Grail. Not just any Grail, but the Red Grail. So within 6 inches of this model, if it's in a Tactical Doctrine or Devastating Doctrine, you can treat it as the Assault Doctrine. Okay, we've read that before on Blood Chalice for the Sanguinary Priest. So we've covered the Sanguinary Priest. Mephi, I don't think has changed. Librarian Dreadnought is still a boss. I still think he's great. Is he better than Mephi? Thoughts? Possibly, people? Because, I mean, he's toughness 7, but he has Duty Eternal now. So, Duty Eternal, which most Dreadnoughts have now. Each time attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic to a minimum of 1. It makes him more survivable. 8 wounds, character cannot be targeted unless he's the nearest, usual things. Asterath. Okay, so Asterath. Stat line, don't think has changed. So spiritual leader only affects core units within 6 of him. So basically he uses his own leadership characteristic instead of their own. So his leadership is 9, so if you've got basic marines nearby and you're 8, slightly better. Always nice. Redeemer of the Lost, while a friendly Blood Angels Death Company unit is within 6. Some techniques, some morale test for the unit, the test is automatically passed. Okay, that's specifically for Death Company. Well, they would shape up, because if they don't, they're going to get their heads lopped off by his Executioner's Axe. Okay. Lamartes. Okay, Lamartes, as you can imagine, he is the Guardian of the Lost, which means each time a model recites a litany, each time this model recites a litany, the litany instructs you to select a friendly unit, it must select Death Company units. So it will not work unless you have the Death Company keyword. Well, Lamartes is the Guardian of the Lost. That does make sense. 'Tis a shame. 'Tis a shame. I do like the idea that we could use transhuman physiology on Death Company Primaris models. This guy buffs Primaris Death Company models. There's loads and loads of things for Primaris Death Company models, but obviously no jump packs yet. Is there going to be? I don't think so. It's a real shame, because most of the time you're going to put them in things like this, the Impulsor. She only put 6 models in, which is a bit of a shame. And the Martys can't go in it. So I'm hoping there's going to be a drop pod or something, or a big Storm Raven or something going to come along that can take Primaris. More than 5 models would be nice, please. Because I like the look of the Blade Guards as well. Blade Guards look fantastic. You have 3 in a unit, minimum. Can't exactly put 2 separate units in them, but you know, you can add models. Tycho. You got Tycho and Tycho the Lost. I've never been a fan. I've really not been a fan. He's got a melter gun, which is he's only 5 power, so he is quite low down. I just think he's an okay captain. Unless you're playing against orcs, then it's quite good fluff-wise, because each time this model makes a melee attack against an orc, add 1 to its strength and damage characteristics. Pretty good. Sanguinary Guard, always liked them, always wonder, should I take Death Company over Sanguinary Guard? I know they've got a 2-up save, but Death Company's got the Feel No Pain. Wow, now these guys have -1 to hit, but it's only in melee. Okay. The Heirs of Ascalon. This model in the makes an attack. If the model is within 6 inches of a friendly Blood Angels Warlord, add 1 to the hit rolls, which is very different. Before it used to be re-roll. So 1 to the hit rolls. Is 1 to the hit rolls better than a re-roll? Possibly. If they're all armed with Power Fists, which are only 5 points by the way, they would be hitting on 4s, but now with that, hitting on 3s is pretty nice. I would take that. I would take that. Sanguinary Ancient, pretty much the same. His banner has changed. I did say the other 2-inch movement on the banner, not on the charge though, which is a shame. He does have the banner that allows models to come back for one last surge of attack on a 4-up, that old classic one. Death Company Dreadnought, pretty much the same. Does have Duty Eternal, so reduces damage. Death Company Marines, like I said, slightly different when it comes to being stuck in combat. You can't just step out. Furios, so Dreadnought, always like the model, think it's wicked. Frag cannons are nice, love a frag cannon. So, frag cannon is heavy 2d3 blast. So you got a unit of 10 guys, 6 shots, very nice. Strength 7, AP 1, damage 2. It is sadly a heavy weapon, which makes sense. I do get it. It is, you know, it's a massive frag cannon. But sadly, he's not going to be able to make use of that in the heavy doctrine, getting any extra AP. Overcharged engines on a Bow Predator. Never used it. Don't really understand it. Because it's got heavy bolters, heavy flamers. If you advance, you can't shoot any of that stuff. Maybe nab an objective might be worth it. I like the model. I think the model's cool. I've got that variant. I've got the flame variant. I do like the model. I like the fact that now you do not suffer the minus to hit with the bolters and stuff like that. So this thing is gotten better in that regard. Before he was hitting on 4s when he was moving, and you want to move that thing. Now he's hitting on 3s. But yeah. So, thoughts please, people. I think it makes more sense if you read the books and you like that kind of thing. But if you just play the game and you never read the books, you're thinking, there's a few nerfs there. Why have I got that? But I think it gives them more flavour, rather than just run up there, I got a bonus, I got a bonus, I got a bonus, I got a bonus. It is a shame. I mean, if you're a tournament playing competitive kind of person, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to look forward to the most. I do miss the fact that the Ancient can't have a Feel No Pain banner anymore, because I used to like putting the Feel No Pain relic on the banner and put them next to my Hell Blasters, as you probably know if you watch the channel at all. And Tom, if you're watching, I'm sorry, and I know you're not going to miss that banner. But I still have the 4-up, shoot again, so... yeah, so please let me know what you think. As a fan, I understand. I still feel a little bit sore, possibly. But there is some nice stuff there. There really is. Dante, I think we're going to see him more on the table, which we should do. He's a flipping commander. So we should see him more. Fair enough. I've been meaning to play him. So -1 to hit him at all times. Fantastic. Sanguinary Guard, in my opinion, have definitely gotten better. I mean, there's a few of the stuff that they had in Psychic Awakening I might miss. But then again, the weapons now are a bit more reliable anyway, so you don't really need the stratagem. The bolters were pretty cool though. Bolt stratagem, we've lost that. Fair enough. Does seem a bit more streamlined, but we'll see. Shutting down Overwatch was always nice for the jump pack. I will miss that on the captain, and I will miss Death Visions of Sanguinius on the captain as well. So I can't make him the Lost. If I want him to be my warlord, or if I'm going to turn him into a commander or something like that. So I do get it. It does make sense, and there's a few nice tricks there still. Do not be put off. I think since this Codex came out, as in the Space Marine Codex specifically, I still don't understand about Scouts. I do not understand why Scouts have lost OBSEC. Yeah, I get it, they may be more elite rather than troops. So you might not see them so much on the table. People used to take them in troops. Those days are gone now because obviously you don't need to gain CP. But it is a shame because I actually quite like the models, apart from the massive square jaw. I've painted up these guys probably about a week before that Codex was released. So I've got a unit of bolters, I've got 2 units of close combat, I've got 3 units of snipers, and I probably won't play them again. It is a shame. But yeah, there are some nice tricks. I do think this little fella is more balanced, because there was a period of time where you didn't get the -1 for your heavy weapons, and it had strafing run. So if you weren't flying, hitting on 2s, way too powerful for that thing. But I do like the fact that their secondaries are pretty flavourful. I do like that you can target a character, you challenge him, get more CPs. that's the way they roll. I do get that. I do like that. I will probably be picking that because like my captain, for example, always likes to go for a character. You wouldn't get stuck into a massive brawl. But if you wanted to do that, there's a secondary for that as well. But one of my favourite secondaries, I say that now before I've tried it, but on paper it looks great. Have more of your models in your enemy's deployment zone, because these guys always want to drop in from behind. They're fast, or they want to be fast. I'm going to be using more drop pods. It's going to be interesting times. We'll see. We'll see. I'm very, very mixed. I think I'm 50-50. Not through I'm angry that they've messed up the rules, and I'm happy on the messed up the rules. I understand, but I'm not angry. It does make more sense. But hopefully they'll be bringing out a new Dante model, and that's what I'm looking forward to, or even possibly the Sanguinor, because look how piddly he looks. You know, he does look a bit skinny. Next to a Primaris model, he's supposed to be huge and epic. You know, I mean, yeah. Wings look pretty puny to me. But it's nice to see my boys out in front of me, even if there's only a few of them. I'm actually looking forward to playing Blood Angels. I think this is a good codex. There's some nice flavourable options, and we'll see. We'll see. So keep watching the channel, because no doubt Blood Angels are going to be on the battle reports again soon. And thank you very much for watching, as per always. Please check out our affiliation link below in the description. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so.